Ryan was a 25-year-old man who lived in a small, quiet town. He had a routine life, working as a librarian during the day and spending his evenings reading and exploring his hobbies. The tranquility of his existence was shattered one fateful evening when he almost became the victim of a kidnapping. It was a cold winter night, and Ryan had just finished his shift at the library. As he walked home along the deserted streets, he couldn't shake off a strange feeling of unease that settled in the pit of his stomach. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and he quickened his pace, desperate to reach the safety of his apartment. Unbeknownst to Ryan, he was being watched by a pair of sinister eyes from the shadows. The mysterious figure followed him, matching his steps with an eerie precision. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he realized he was not alone. He took a shortcut through a dimly lit alley, hoping to lose his pursuer, but it only made matters worse. Just as Ryan was about to reach the end of the alley, a hand reached out and grabbed his shoulder. A chill ran down his spine, and he turned around to face a tall, menacing man with a scar across his face. The stranger's voice was cold and menacing as he whispered, "Don't make a sound, or you'll regret it." Fear consumed Ryan as he realized the dire situation he was in. Thoughts raced through his mind, and he knew he had to act quickly if he wanted to escape. Summoning every ounce of courage, he elbowed the stranger in the ribs and sprinted away, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Ryan's breath came in ragged gasps as he darted through the streets, zigzagging to confuse his pursuer. Panic set in as he realized the man was still hot on his heels. With no other option, Ryan decided to take refuge in a nearby cafe, hoping that the crowd inside would deter his attacker. As he burst through the doors of the cafe, gasping for breath, he caught the attention of the startled customers. The stranger hesitated at the entrance, his eyes locked with Ryan's for a moment before he disappeared into the night. Ryan collapsed into a chair, his body trembling with fear and relief, thankful that he had managed to escape the clutches of his would-be kidnapper. But as he caught his breath and looked around the cafe, he couldn't shake off the feeling that the danger was not over. He knew he had to stay vigilant, for the face of his assailant would forever be etched into his memory. Ryan sat in the cafe, his hands trembling and his mind racing. He couldn't shake off the feeling that the stranger might return, or that someone else might be involved. With every passing minute, his anxiety grew stronger, urging him to take action. Unable to ignore his instincts, Ryan decided to confide in a close friend, Sarah, who worked as a police officer in the town. He hurriedly dialed her number, his voice shaky as he recounted the terrifying encounter and the subsequent chase. Sarah listened attentively, her voice filled with concern. She assured Ryan that she would do everything in her power to ensure his safety. She urged him to stay put and promised to send a police car to escort him home. True to her word, Sarah arrived at the cafe accompanied by 2 officers. Ryan felt a sense of relief wash over him as he saw the familiar faces of the law enforcement. He quickly recounted the incident once again, providing a detailed description of the stranger who had pursued him. The police took Ryan's statement seriously, and they immediately launched an investigation into the incident. They scoured the area, examining surveillance footage and questioning locals for any information that could help identify the assailant. The town was on high alert, and news of the attempted kidnapping spread like wildfire. Days turned into weeks, and Ryan's life fell into a state of constant anxiety. He couldn't escape the lingering fear that the man might strike again, that he might be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Despite the police's best efforts, they were unable to identify the stranger or make any significant progress in the case. Ryan's nerves were frayed, and he found himself constantly looking over his shoulder, unable to trust even the most innocent of encounters. One evening, as Ryan returned home from work, he noticed a slip of paper sticking out from under his front door. He cautiously picked it up and unfolded it. The words scrawled on the paper sent a chill down his spine. "I'm still watching you." Panic consumed Ryan once again, and he immediately contacted Sarah. The police arrived promptly, searching his apartment for any signs of a break-in or evidence left behind by the stalker. Their efforts, however, proved fruitless. Determined not to live in constant fear, Ryan decided to take matters into his own hands. He enrolled in self-defense classes and became more vigilant, constantly assessing his surroundings. He installed security cameras and strengthened the locks on his doors and windows. Months passed, and Ryan's life slowly regained a semblance of normalcy. The stranger seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the haunting memories of that chilling encounter. Ryan never discovered the true identity of his would-be kidnapper, and the case remained unsolved. Though the scars of that night would always remain, Ryan refused to let fear dictate his life. He became an advocate for personal safety, organizing workshops and events to raise awareness in the community. His resilience and determination inspired others to stay vigilant and fight against the shadows that lurked in the darkness. While the almost kidnapping had left its mark on Ryan, it also transformed him into a beacon of strength and courage. He vowed to live each day to the fullest, cherishing the precious moments and never taking his safety for granted. And as he moved forward, Ryan carried with him the knowledge that he had stared into the face of danger and escaped its clutches. He had come so close to being kidnapped, but had managed to reclaim his freedom, forever grateful for the resilience that had carried him through the darkest of nights. Helen, a cheerful and adventurous 8-year-old girl, lived in a peaceful suburban neighborhood with her loving parents. She was known for her lively spirit and boundless curiosity. One sunny afternoon, as Helen played in the park near her house, an unsettling incident took place that would change her life forever. Helen was engrossed in chasing butterflies when she noticed a man lurking in the shadows. He had a sinister smile that sent shivers down her spine. Instinctively, Helen felt something was terribly wrong, and her heart raced with fear. She quickly turned to run away, but before she could escape, the man lunged towards her, attempting to snatch her. With sheer determination, Helen managed to break free from the man's grasp. She ran as fast as her little legs could carry her, tears streaming down her face. She knew she needed to find a safe place to hide, but panic clouded her thoughts. Desperately seeking refuge, Helen darted into an old abandoned house at the edge of the park. The dilapidated walls and creaking floorboards heightened her unease, but she felt it was her only option. She huddled in a corner, trembling, praying that the man wouldn't find her. Meanwhile, Helen's parents had realized their daughter hadn't returned home. Panic swept over them as they scoured the neighborhood, calling out her name to no avail. Fear and desperation consumed their hearts as they frantically contacted the police, hoping for any leads. Inside the abandoned house, Helen's heart pounded in her chest as she heard footsteps drawing closer. The man had followed her trail and was closing in. In a desperate attempt to stay hidden, Helen pressed herself against the wall, praying for a miracle. Suddenly, a beam of light pierced through the darkness as the front door burst open. It was the police responding to the frantic call from Helen's parents. Helen's heart swelled with relief as the officers swept through the house, searching for any signs of her. "Over here," one of the officers shouted, discovering Helen tucked away in the corner. Tears of joy streamed down her face as they carried her out of the house, safe from harm. Helen's parents, overwhelmed with emotion, embraced their daughter tightly, grateful beyond words. As the police investigated the incident, they discovered that the man who had almost kidnapped Helen was a notorious criminal with a history of child abductions. He had managed to elude capture until now, leaving a trail of fear and devastation behind him. Helen's close call served as a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the world, even in seemingly peaceful neighborhoods. The incident left a lasting impact on her and her family. who vowed to cherish every moment together and never take their safety for granted. Months passed since Helen's harrowing encounter, and life had started to regain a sense of normalcy. The scars of that day still lingered, but Helen's resilience grew stronger with time. However, as the anniversary of the incident approached, a series of unsettling events unfolded, plunging Helen and her family back into the depths of fear. Strange occurrences plagued Helen's dreams. She would wake up in the dead of night, drenched in cold sweat, feeling an eerie presence in her room. Shadows danced on the walls, and whispering voices echoed in her ears. Sleep became a dreaded ordeal as nightmares entwined with reality. Unbeknownst to Helen, the man who had almost kidnapped her had been captured by the police. In the depths of his prison cell, consumed by a sinister obsession, he became fixated on the girl who had escaped his clutches. Vowing revenge, he meticulously plotted his escape, craving the opportunity to complete what he had failed to accomplish. One stormy night, the power went out in Helen's neighborhood. As darkness shrouded the area, Helen's parents felt a chilling presence creeping through their home. They sensed danger looming, but they couldn't put their finger on what it was. Helen's nightmares escalated, blurring the lines between her dreams and reality. She would wake up to find objects moved or broken, whispers lingering in the air. Fear consumed her once more, and she couldn't escape the haunting memories of the man who had almost taken her life. Determined to protect their daughter, Helen's parents contacted a paranormal investigator, hoping for answers. The investigator delved deep into the house's history, uncovering a dark secret from the past. The abandoned house where Helen had sought refuge was once the lair of a serial killer who had preyed on children. The investigator revealed that the man's spirit lingered, seeking vengeance against those who had escaped him. The anniversary of Helen's escape had reawakened his malevolent energy, fueling the supernatural disturbances that plagued the family. Armed with this knowledge, Helen's parents sought help from a spiritual medium. Together, they performed a ritual to cleanse the house and banish the vengeful spirit. The air crackled with energy as prayers filled the room, creating a barrier of protection. In the midst of the ritual, a bone-chilling gust of wind blew through the house, extinguishing all the candles. The medium's voice trembled, sensing a malevolent force resisting their efforts. But they persisted, their determination unyielding. As the final words of the ritual echoed through the house, a wave of tranquility washed over Helen's home. The nightmares ceased, and the unsettling presence vanished. The evil that had haunted them was finally laid to rest. Helen and her family could finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that they had faced the darkness head-on and triumphed. The scars from their ordeal would forever remain, a reminder of their resilience and the power of love and determination in the face of unspeakable terror. But as the sun rose on a new day, Helen couldn't help but wonder if evil truly ever disappears completely. Little did she know that the shadows of her past would forever shape her future, casting a long, haunting shadow on her life yet to come. Eric was a young, adventurous man who had a passion for exploring the great outdoors. He lived in a small town surrounded by dense forests, which he considered his playground. The woods were his sanctuary, a place where he felt truly alive. One sunny afternoon, Eric decided to embark on a solo hiking expedition deep into the heart of the forest. Equipped with his backpack, a map, and a sense of excitement, he set off on his journey. The towering trees, the chirping birds, and the soothing rustle of leaves under his feet filled him with a sense of tranquility. As Eric ventured deeper into the woods, he noticed something unusual. The atmosphere around him seemed different, as if a veil of silence had descended upon the forest. The vibrant sounds of nature were eerily absent, replaced only by an unsettling stillness. Undeterred, Eric pushed forward, determined to uncover the mystery that lingered in the air. Hours turned into dusk, and he found himself in an unfamiliar part of the forest. The once clear path now became a maze of twisted branches and thick undergrowth, making navigation difficult. Just as he was about to turn back, Eric spotted a flickering light in the distance. Filled with curiosity, he cautiously followed the glow, hoping to find some answers. The light led him to a small clearing, where he discovered an abandoned campsite. A shiver ran down Eric's spine as he realized that the campsite bore signs of recent activity. Tents were torn, belongings scattered, and an uneasiness hung in the air. It was clear that something had gone horribly wrong. Drawing on his survival instincts, Eric began to investigate the area, searching for any clues that might shed light on the situation. Among the scattered items, he found a torn piece of paper with a child's drawing on it. The crude sketch depicted frightened faces and a menacing figure lurking in the shadows. Fear gripped Eric's heart as he realized that this forest, once his haven, might be harboring something far more sinister. Determined to uncover the truth, he resolved to find the missing children and bring them back to safety. With the dim moonlight guiding his path, Eric set out deeper into the forest, his every step filled with trepidation. The rustling of leaves and distant whispers played tricks on his mind, as if the forest itself was trying to deter him from his mission. As Eric pressed on through the dense forest, his senses heightened, and every crack of a branch or rustle of leaves sent a jolt of adrenaline through his veins. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the twisted trees and tangled underbrush. Suddenly, Eric heard a faint cry in the distance. He followed the sound, his heart pounding with both fear and hope. The cries grew louder, and as he emerged from a thicket, he stumbled upon a small, dilapidated cabin. The door creaked open as Eric cautiously stepped inside. The room was dimly lit by a flickering lantern, casting long shadows on the peeling wallpaper. A chilling breeze swept through the cracks, carrying with it the scent of decay. In the corner of the room, huddled together, were 3 frightened children. Their eyes widened with a mixture of relief and terror as they saw Eric standing before them. They had been lost in the forest for days, surviving on meager scraps of food they had managed to scrounge. Eric's heart ached for the children, and he comforted them, promising to get them home safely. But as they were about to leave the cabin, a figure emerged from the darkness, blocking their path. It was a gaunt man with wild eyes and a wicked grin. "Leaving so soon?" he sneered. "You've stumbled into my domain, and now you'll pay the price." Eric's blood ran cold as he realized the true nature of the danger lurking in the forest. This man, deranged and malicious, was responsible for the disappearance of the children. He had lured them into his twisted trap, using the forest as his accomplice. A fierce struggle ensued, with Eric fighting to protect the children and himself. The man was cunning and desperate, but Eric's determination and resourcefulness proved to be his greatest weapons. In a final, desperate move, Eric managed to overpower his adversary and restrain him. With the man subdued, Eric swiftly led the children out of the cabin, guiding them through the labyrinthine paths of the forest. Their journey was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Eric's unwavering resolve pushed them forward. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they emerged from the depths of the forest, greeted by the warm embrace of concerned parents and the reassuring presence of law enforcement. The children were safe, and their families were overcome with gratitude for Eric's bravery and determination. The man responsible for the children's ordeal was apprehended and brought to justice, but the scars he left behind would take time to heal. The forest, once a place of solace and wonder, had been forever tainted by the sinister events that unfolded within its depths. As for Eric, he became a symbol of hope and resilience in the community. He had faced the darkness head-on, risking his own safety to save innocent lives. The memory of that harrowing journey would stay with him forever, a reminder of the indomitable spirit that lies within us all. And so, The tale of Eric and the lost children became a cautionary story, a reminder to tread carefully in the woods and to remain vigilant in the face of danger. The forest held its secrets, but it would never extinguish the light of courage and determination that burned within the hearts of those who dared to explore its depths. Leslie sat on the porch swing, staring out into the dense forest that bordered her small town. The tall trees swayed gently in the wind, casting eerie shadows on the ground. The forest had always held a mysterious allure for Leslie, but today something felt different. It had been 2 days since the disappearance of Emma, a 10-year-old girl from the neighboring town. The news had spread like wildfire, and the community was gripped with fear. Leslie couldn't help but think about what could have happened to Emma and how it could have been prevented. Determined to find answers, Leslie decided to venture into the very forest that seemed to hold the secrets. She donned her hiking boots, packed a flashlight, and set off, leaving a note for her worried parents. As she stepped into the forest, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. The familiar chirping of birds was replaced by an unnerving silence. The dense undergrowth made it difficult to navigate, but Leslie pushed forward, driven by her curiosity and the desire to uncover the truth. Hours turned into dusk, and the sun dipped below the horizon. Leslie's heart raced as the forest plunged into darkness, with only the beam of her flashlight to guide her way. Every rustle of leaves or snapping twig made her jump, but she pressed on, determined to find any clues that might lead to Emma. Suddenly, a faint cry echoed through the trees. Leslie's heart skipped a beat, and she quickened her pace towards the sound. Pushing through thick foliage, she stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in moonlight. In the center stood an old, dilapidated cabin, its weathered wood creaking ominously. Hesitant but driven by a newfound urgency, Leslie cautiously approached the cabin. The door stood ajar, inviting her inside. She stepped across the threshold, her flashlight casting long shadows on the walls. The air inside was musty and filled with an unsettling silence. Leslie's breath hitched as she noticed a faded photograph lying on a dusty table. It depicted Emma, smiling innocently, surrounded by a group of children. The realization hit Leslie like a wave. Emma hadn't vanished on her own accord. Just as Leslie was about to search further, a sound broke the silence. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate. Panic flooded Leslie's senses as she realized she was not alone in the cabin. She turned to leave but froze in her tracks as a figure emerged from the darkness. The figure slowly stepped into the dim light, revealing an elderly man with weathered features and piercing eyes. Leslie's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to make sense of the situation. Was this man responsible for Emma's disappearance? "Who are you?" Leslie managed to utter, her voice trembling. The man's eyes softened, and a hint of sadness crossed his face. "My name is Samuel," he replied, his voice filled with a weary tone. "I'm sorry for the fright I caused you, but I couldn't let you leave just yet." Confusion and fear welled up inside Leslie. "What do you mean? What happened to Emma? Are you involved?" Samuel sighed, his gaze fixed on the old photograph. "No, I'm not involved in her disappearance. I'm a caretaker of this forest, and I've been living here alone for many years. I stumbled upon that photograph years ago, abandoned in the woods." Leslie's brow furrowed. "But why did you bring me here? What do you know about Emma?" Samuel's eyes met Leslie's, filled with sadness and regret. "I brought you here because I thought you could help me find answers. You see, this forest has a dark past. Long ago, a group of children disappeared without a trace, just like Emma. The townspeople believed it to be the work of a malicious entity, but I think there's more to it." Leslie's mind raced, trying to process the information. "So, you think Emma's disappearance is connected to what happened to those children?" Samuel nodded solemnly. "I do. The forest holds secrets, Leslie. secrets that need to be uncovered. I couldn't bear to let another child vanish without trying to find the truth. Fear and determination warred within Leslie as she considered Samuel's words. She couldn't ignore the possibility that Emma's fate was tied to a greater mystery, one that had haunted this forest for years. "I want to help," Leslie finally said, her voice filled with resolve. "We need to find out what happened to Emma and those children." Samuel's weary eyes brightened, and a glimmer of hope danced within them. "Thank you, Leslie. Together, we may finally find the answers we seek and put an end to this darkness that haunts our town." And so, Leslie and Samuel embarked on a perilous journey, delving deeper into the mysteries of the forest. Unbeknownst to them, the answers they sought would test their courage, unravel long-buried secrets, and lead them to face a malevolence they never could have imagined. Leslie and Samuel delved deeper into the dark and enigmatic secrets of the forest. Their search took them to hidden caves, overgrown paths, and forgotten landmarks, each step fueling their determination to bring Emma and the lost children back home. As they uncovered more clues, they began to piece together a haunting tale of the forest's past. The disappearance of the children wasn't an act of a malicious entity, but rather the result of a tragic accident. Years ago, a devastating storm had swept through the area, causing a landslide that sealed off an underground cavern. The children had sought refuge in the cave, unknowingly trapping themselves inside. Leslie and Samuel's investigation led them to the entrance of the cavern, a foreboding and treacherous passage. Armed with their flashlights and unwavering resolve, they cautiously descended into the depths, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The air inside the cavern was heavy and damp, and eerie echoes reverberated through the dark tunnels. Their flashlights illuminated ancient cave paintings, remnants of the lost children's attempts to leave their mark on the world that had swallowed them whole. As they ventured deeper, the echoes grew louder, and the sounds of faint cries reached their ears. Leslie's pulse quickened, realizing that they were drawing closer to their ultimate goal. With each step, she pushed aside her fear, driven by the urgency to rescue Emma and the others. Finally, they reached a large chamber within the depths of the cave. There, huddled together, were Emma and the children who had vanished so long ago. Their eyes were wide with a mix of fear, confusion, and hope as they gazed upon Leslie and Samuel. Leslie rushed forward, her voice filled with relief and compassion. "We're here to save you. We've come to bring you back home." Tears streamed down Emma's face as she embraced Leslie tightly. "I thought I would never see my family again," she whispered, her voice trembling. Samuel knelt beside the children, his voice filled with empathy. "You're safe now. We've come to bring you back to the world you left behind." But their joyous reunion was short-lived. The cavern walls trembled, and a deafening roar echoed through the chamber. The ancient structure, weakened by time and nature's wrath, threatened to collapse upon them. With little time to spare, Leslie, Samuel, and the children rushed towards the exit, their every step haunted by the fear of being buried alive. The earth quaked beneath them, the ceiling crumbling above, as they desperately fought against the impending destruction. As they reached the mouth of the cave, daylight pierced through the darkness, signaling their salvation. They emerged into the open air just as the cavern collapsed behind them, forever sealing away the tragic past that had haunted the forest for decades. Word of their miraculous rescue spread through the town like wildfire, bringing hope and healing to a community scared by loss. Leslie and Samuel became beacons of courage, their bravery and determination inspiring others to confront their fears and face the darkness that lurked within their lives. The forest, once shrouded in mystery and fear, gradually transformed into a place of solace and growth. It became a sanctuary for children and families, a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the power of unwavering hope. And as Leslie and Samuel watched over the rejuvenated forest, they knew that their journey had only just begun. Together, They would continue to unravel the secrets that lay hidden beneath the surface, ensuring that no child would ever be lost or forgotten again.